Hey there friends, welcome to another video. I'm so glad to have you along with me this afternoon. So today we are going to be talking about some tips that will just help you get started on your organization, whether it's a project that's in the works, a project that maybe you've needed to start work on and you just haven't been able to get motivated. These will also just serve as some practical ideas that will just help you in the day-to-day projects that you have going on and just help you sort of accomplish a more organized home. If you are new here, make sure and go check out some of my other videos. I've got a lot of fun stuff posted. I primarily post motherhood and homemaking videos. And if you enjoyed this video as you watch, the greatest compliment you can give me is a like. Be sure to subscribe if you are interested in following along as I post more content weekly. And then without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So I have 6 tips that I'm going to be talking about today. The first one is really important, and that is to declutter. You can be the best organizer in the world, and it is going to be a challenge if you have too much stuff. It's really good to just go through your items on a regular basis, I would say. Take some time often to go through your stuff and just try and figure out if it's something that's serving its purpose or if it's just taking up space in your home. If it's causing you more stress to hold on to it or to just see it or to try and keep it clean or organized, it might be time to let that item or items go. So that is the first tip that I would give you when you are looking at a project. Don't just jump right in. If you are trying to organize it, obviously what you've been doing in the past hasn't been working, or maybe it's worked temporarily and hasn't lasted. Really take a good look at the stuff that you are trying to organize and look and see if everything in that pile is something that is worth holding on to, taking up your time to organize, taking up your time to manage. Okay, so the next tip number 2, is to beware of dump zones. I think you all probably know what I mean by that. There is at least one place in everybody's home, I think, that just manages to accumulate clutter and junk, and it's not even necessarily a junk drawer in someone's kitchen. There's usually a countertop, I feel like, or just a space, a chair in a bedroom that just ends up being the drop zone for certain items. And for us, I would say that was probably our high counter. We have our sink and then our high counter kind of overlooking the kitchen. And that high counter just ends up becoming a dump zone because it's a perfect in between for my living room and my kitchen. So stuff that's coming out of the kitchen or going into, if I don't have time to put it away, I usually just pop it on the high counter because I'm just going to get to it in a few minutes. And you know what happens is I don't get to it in a few minutes. It just accumulates with all the other junk that I've thrown up there, and it's an eyesore, and it's a very prominent place in my home. So just be very aware of those dump zones and just try and make sure that you're managing them as regularly as possible. Whenever I have something to put it away, a good rule of thumb, if it's going to take a minute or less, just do it, because otherwise you have all these little things that together really accumulate. It really takes up a lot of time when you're looking at all those tiny little things. Like when I'm organizing, it's really those tiny things, those little bits and pieces. I can't organize into major piles or different groups or bedrooms, but it's just like a lot of little specific things that I have to put away. If I had just done it in the moment, it wouldn't have taken very long, but now that I've let it pile up, it's become this big, huge project. Just being aware of those dump zones and knowing that they exist and your tendency to put stuff there, and maybe you have family members who have certain favorite dump zones, being aware of that is really going to help you manage it so much better. So really try to manage those dump zones, and if at all possible, don't even let things accumulate there in the first place. All right, tip number 3 is to have a daily tidy. These can be little tidies throughout your day. You can have them once a day, but I would encourage you to have at least one tidy throughout the day where you're going through your house or you're going through a specific room and you're just having a pickup. With my kids' bedrooms, I really like to try and have those daily tidies in the evening when I'm getting them ready for bed. I usually wait to have full room tidies till the evening, but sometimes when they're down for their nap, I'll just run around and kind of pick everything up. it's helped me so much just to feel like I'm staying on top of those projects and just keeping everything better organized. Because again, kind of like with the dump zones, if you're letting something accumulate, it really becomes this huge project that's overwhelming to think about. When you're just on top of that, you're taking just a few minutes, set the timer for 5 minutes, just run through your house and do a little pickup. It's not only going to help your home feel less cluttered and overwhelming, it's also going to help you mentally just to be able to get more done, get more accomplished, because you are going to know that you're being productive getting that stuff picked up. Then you also will be more productive in having a tidy house to work in. Tip number 4, is this 4? Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, okay. Tip number 4 is if the system isn't working, don't be afraid to change it up. Sometimes I feel like we just have a certain way of doing things, or especially a certain place that you've always put something, a certain way that you've always organized, and sometimes I'll just step back and be like, wait, it isn't working. Why do I keep trying to make this work? The reality is there's always going to be stuff kind of coming in through the house, hopefully going out in the same or even faster than stuff is coming in. And you're gonna have to make changes and just adjust things as needed. So really try and look with fresh eyes in the areas that you have just tried to make work and just hasn't felt quite right. Don't be afraid to change things up. Don't be afraid to kind of reevaluate and rework the system, because if the system isn't working, it's not worth keeping. There are a lot of different systems and a lot of different ways to organize out there, and just do some research. Figure out what system works best for you and then fine tune it for your specific household. And you're just going to have a lot more success when it comes to organizing and just keeping everything tidy. And number 5 is if the system is working, don't change it up. And I know this sounds similar to number 4, but the reason I say this, I wanted to make it its own point, because sometimes when you are doing that research and looking at all the cute ways that people organize, you kind of get lost in that. Like I love organizing, and I really love watching other people's different methods of organization. It's so fun, and sometimes you're on Pinterest and just looking through different things, and there's a lot of different products out there, and it's easy to get lost in that and grow discontent and try and make their system work for you. But if what you're doing is working, then don't change it up. And additionally, I would add on to that, if you're all motivated to organize, that's great, but don't just jump in and spend a whole bunch of money. Really try to figure out what you actually need before you go out and buy a bunch of boxes or buy a bunch of whatever you feel like you need to organize your home. It's okay to go out and do that if you have need. But a lot of times I think there's more in our house than we realize, and if you just look through everything, just go through all the stuff that you have right now and try and make what you have work for you. At least give it a shot. And then if it's not working after you've given it a fair shot, get rid of it and try something else. My caution just is not to jump into something just because you get really motivated and excited and then think that the only way you can have this good looking, organized home is if you do it this certain way. Sometimes there are systems that you're using and they're working for you. So there's no need to change it up, and you don't want to go and spend a bunch of money on something that isn't going to work because it wasn't the right system for your specific lifestyle, for your specific home. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, and my last tip for helping you keep a more organized home, a more organized space, is to have a place for everything and keep everything in its place. Really, really important. Make sure everything has a home in your home, because you know those are the types of things that end up in those dump zones, really. Those things that you just kind of floating around and you don't really know where to put them. Like I have my Bible and Bible notebook sitting out right now because every day I try to spend time in the Word of God and do some journaling, some prayer journaling and stuff. And sometimes I'm doing that in my living room, sometimes I'm doing it on the kitchen table. And then I also have my day timer. Those items really end up floating around quite a bit because they don't have a specific place. I recently found a place for my day timer and notebook. I actually am using a napkin holder. I can also put napkins in it, but it just works like a little book stand, and I have it up on my table. It's working really well right now. We'll see long term how that holds up. And my Bible notebook and Bible have yet to find a specific home. Sometimes I'll put them on the shelf underneath my coffee table. Usually they end up on the kitchen table, and I just haven't really found a good system for that yet. It's really important to find homes for everything in your household, have a place to put everything, because the stuff that doesn't have a place to go or that is really hard to access or put away, especially if it's something that you get out a lot, it's going to end up cluttering your countertops, your couches, your tables, your workspaces, and it's just going to create more chaos for your home. Paperwork, I know, is a hard one. Try and make sure you have a place to go with your mail and your different papers. Have a good filing system so you can get stuff filed as soon as it comes in. Junk mail, as soon as that comes in, if you use the advertisements from the grocery store, then set those aside, put everything else in the recycling bin. Really make sure you have a good system for everything and make sure that everything has a place to go. That's going to help you as you organize, and it's also going to help other members of your household, because that way they know where stuff goes. They know they can just put it away really easily, and it's not going to accumulate all over the place in your home. All right, well, that's all I've got for you today, guys. I really love organizing, and I've always loved organizing ever since I was little. So it is something that I'm always very enthusiastic, very passionate about, and always trying to learn more about. I'm going to link a YouTuber down below. You may have heard of her because she's recently been on a TV show, but Cass from Clutterbug, she talks about the different styles of organizing. And there's a quiz you can take, and she's sort of classified into 4 different groups, 4 different categories, what type of organizer you are. It's a lot of fun. Go check that out. Take her quiz. Find out what type of organizer you are. That is really going to help you to organize better as well, because like I was talking about with the systems and figuring out what system works for you, her channel and her videos, especially that quiz, will really help you nail down what your style of organization is, so that you can do a better job of implementing methods in your home that are really going to work for you and your household. So check her out, check out some of my other videos. Thank you all so much for joining me for this video, and I will look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye.